So I just got out to the lake, and when I was putting my kayak on the water, I couldn't help but notice a disgusting thick green film on the water's surface. And I don't know if that's some kind of algae bloom or if it's actually the water turning over because it's fall summer transition. That being said, I don't think it's going to help the fishing. You know, the further away from bank I get, the better the water clarity becomes, but no matter where I go, it's pretty thick and green and gross, and my kayak's probably going to be filthy after today's fishing trip. But I didn't have time to go anywhere else. I just figured I'm already here, let's see what we can do. I've got 4 rods with me. I'm after whatever bites, no major agenda. I just want to catch fish. Gotta have a positive attitude. Even though I'm a little bit anxious about the conditions, I trust we're going to catch fish. So with that being said, let's get started. I came out a little deeper. There we go. Oh, I just had a bite. Dadgummit. I'm starting to see marks down towards the bottom. I'm sitting in 8 foot of water and I just had a bite. I don't know what that was. Could have been a crappie, could have been a bluegill. Hard to say. Little marker buoy. It helps with location. So that'll be a good little reference point for where I want to fish. There you go. Oh, it's a crappie. Okay, well, there's at least some crappie down there. I think there's definitely some bluegill too, because I've been having some short strikes that feel like bluegill. But we're on the board, my friends. There you go, little crappie. Sitting out here in about 7 foot of water. That marker buoy basically indicates where I started seeing fish. And it seems like there's fish all the way around here. So I should just be able to kind of hover around the marker buoy and just kind of fan cast the area. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we can catch some more crappie. Gotcha. That's another small crappie. All right, well, there's a few of these guys down there. Nothing big, but it's a good start. And in the conditions like these, I'll certainly take it. I love catching offshore schooling fish. Even if they're kind of small crappie, it's a fun way to catch fish. Definitely builds up the confidence too. You know, offshore fishing is pretty intimidating for a lot of people. And I don't have the most fancy electronics in the world. This is just a low Rance Hook 2 5X, really basic fish finder. And you don't need super advanced, you know, technology to catch fish. You just kind of have to be able to mark them and understand the depth and that sort of thing. And then you can just use your own skills and experience, as well as tools like the marker buoy, to really just make sure that you can hone in and catch more fish. Gotcha. It's a little bit better one. There's a lot of fish about the same size, but this one put up a decent little fight. There you go. Another little crappie. Came back towards the marker buoy and casted towards it, and what do you know, there's another fish. And now when I'm fishing for these fish kind of vertically, I really don't do a whole lot. I just kind of twitch it a little bit here and there and really just watch my line like a hawk. It looks like I'm right on top of a couple fish, so I'm trying to catch them. You know, ideally, I don't like sitting on top of fish in this shallow of water, but there, I got that one. Usually in this shallow of water, I wouldn't really want to position myself right above the fish because I'm only 6 foot above them, so they're probably going to see the kayak and they're going to be a little turned off. But in this case, it didn't matter. There you go. And again, it's really not necessarily a difficult technique. It's just basically dropping the jig on top of the fish and just twitching it around a little bit, but you have to be patient. You don't need to overwork your bait. You know, it's more a matter of putting it in front of their nose and making them suck it up rather than drawing like a reaction bite or anything like that. Gotcha. That one mouthed it a few times before I finally got him to eat it. Yeah, it's kind of a school of all the same size crappie. They're all about 7 to 8 inches long. And now this fish is, where is he? Not exactly big crappie, but they're crappie nonetheless. So for those of you wanting to know what it looks like on the graph, essentially I'm sitting in 6 foot of water right now, and you can see these little orange marks towards the bottom. These are probably crappie right below my kayak. And so all you have to do is really get your jig down there and drift it around real close to the bottom. And you kind of just watch your line, and then when it jumps, you set the hook. In this case, I could probably drop straight down and catch some of these fish. I've got that Mule Minnow 2.2 rigged up on a 1/16 ounce pink mule jig. That should be a crappie killer right there. There's one. There you go. First cast with the 1/16 ounce jig, and I've already got a crappie. So now you can actually see what I'm talking about when I'm saying this green film in the shallows. I mean, look at this. It literally looks like an oil-based paint on the top of the surface. It is so gross, and it is just everywhere. There we go. Probably a bluegill. Oh no, it is a crappie. He just wanted the slower rate of fall. I switched down to the donkey-tail junior, and he actually ate it. I had gotten a couple short strikes on the mule minnow, and the little bit slower rate of fall donkey-tail junior in the chartreuse color got this fish to eat. Well, that's good. Shoot, I'm starting to think I need to go back to the spot where I was catching fish earlier. Even though they were small crappie, I just can't seem to find big groups of fish anywhere else. I'm gonna go ahead and pedal over some deeper water just in case I see some fish on the graph, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and head back to the spot where I was catching fish. That might be some fish down there. I'll give it a quick couple casts, I think. There's a couple marks down there beneath my kayak. Let's go ahead and just vertical drop this real quick. See if we can't get one of these fish to bite. There we go. Okay, well, it's not a big one. Found another small school of fish. We'll see if we can catch more than just one here. Nothing much. He was sitting in close to 12 foot of water, actually. Oh, there he got him. He was just kind of nipping at it a few times. And down, he was about the same size as the rest of them. Just barely had a hook in him, and unfortunately he got off. I just can't seem to find those 10 plus inchers. I don't know, maybe this lake is just overpopulated with kind of mid-range crappie, but I cannot seem to find those larger fish today. There, I got him. That fish was just holding on to it. So I just like kind of gave him a real light hook set. You know, these crappie, you don't necessarily have to hit them super hard. You know, if you think you have one on there, you can give it a little flick of the wrist, and that's usually enough to get them hooked. And there you go. Just more of the same thing, you know, not exactly anything to write home about, but on a day like today, you know, the goal is to catch fish. I'm catching fish. I feel like crappie is the best species to go for right now. I think the bass are definitely finicky. I'm surprised I haven't really had much attention from bluegill. I'm sure I've gotten some short strikes, but it seems like the bluegill are probably pretty finicky too. And I think that's just because the bass and the bluegill are gonna be probably a little bit more shoreline oriented right now. And because this water is so gunky, it's like I might as well get off the bank, fish the little bit cleaner stuff, and focus on crappie. You know, in this case, this is actually the mule minnow 3.2, but I trimmed off the head portion, and that makes it just about 3 inches. A little bit larger profile, so the goal would be to catch a little bit bigger crappie, and maybe a little bit bigger profile will help with that. The other thing is, in this dirtier water, it may not be the worst idea to just displace a little bit more water. It might allow those fish to find it a little bit better. You know, even though they're smaller fish and even though they continue to short strike, they might be short striking because they're having a hard time locating it. And this little bit larger profile, who knows, it might actually help fish take it down a little bit better. It's a theory. I'm not sure if it's a good one or not, but it's worth a try. There we go. We're on the board with a 3.2, and it's an absolute micro. So it did not trade us up in size whatsoever, but it's another fish. There we go. Yeah, that one had to have been pretty far down in the water column because I had not moved that bait at all for probably 10 or 11 seconds. So it was probably down there right off the bottom. And there you go. He committed to it. He didn't short strike. Is it a big fish? No. But I'd prefer to land a small fish than to get a short strike and not land any fish at all. And that's what's been happening. The nice thing about the Donkey Tail Junior is it's got that paddle tail to where it's gonna give a little bit of thump, and that'll hopefully help those fish track it down, like that one right there. That might be a little bit better crappie. Either that or he's just turned sideways. No, I think he's a little better. I think he's just a little fatter. Not necessarily longer, but he's got some fat on him, so that's good. Yeah, he's no longer than the other fish, but he's just a little healthier, I would say, just a little fatter. Fish tend to group up with other fish their size. I'm sure there's a group of big crappies somewhere in this lake. I just haven't been able to find them. But I'll take them. See you, buddy. This is certainly not a massive school of fish. They're not just stacked up in here. They're just very like scattered around the area. There's one. That one was holding it. I could see that my rod was just slightly bent. It was because that fish was actually pulling on it. I never even felt the bite. But like I said, I just feel like there's like fish scattered throughout the area. There's not like a giant group of fish. Sometimes with crappie, it's like there's just a cloud of them. In this case, there's fish every like 10 to 15 feet, and they're kind of in 2s and 3s. They're not like in a group of 50. There's probably like hundreds of fish in the area, but they're probably just spanned out all around the area. You guys saw that bite, and he thumped the crap out of it. There you go, my friends. We've caught a few fish today. They've all been about like that. Well, I tell you what, I never caught any giant fish today, but I had a good time, and given the conditions, I'm pretty happy. The other thing is, this might be a super simple product, but it's a super helpful product, especially if you're a kayak fisherman and you fish offshore. So for ultralight kayak fishermen, I feel like it's definitely a must-have, because panfish, they all like to get offshore. They like to get on offshore weed beds or brush piles, and if you have something like this, you're able to kind of hone in on that school and have, you know, just a little bit of a vantage point, like I said, just something to kind of hone in on, because inevitably you will drift off your spot. It's the name of the game with kayak fishing. Anyways, thank you so very much for watching. We'll catch you next time.